Hello, and welcome to an introductory lesson on binary and ternary form. We are beginning the study of musical form, which is the overall thematic and harmonic organization of a piece of music. In Western tonal music, the driving force behind this structure is tonal motion, that is, movement from one key to another key or several other keys, and then usually back again to the original key. Musical form is the synthesis of everything we've studied thus far. As you'll soon discover, the study of musical form entails the analysis of melody, harmony, voice leading, phrase structure, and cadences, to name but just a few elements that we'll study. The study of form in music also highlights the hierarchical nature of Western tonal music. That is, analyzing how a piece of music is structured at the smallest levels, for example, individual chords that make up harmonic progressions, can give you insight as to how the piece is organized at subsequently larger levels, like phrases, periods, and eventually entire movements. This video focuses on 2- and 3-part forms, also known as binary form and ternary form, respectively. Let's begin with binary form. As the term suggests, binary form is a 2-part organizational structure that is determined by the relationship of the themes as well as by the movement's cadences. Regarding the thematic material, there are 3 types of relationships. A piece in simple binary form has 2 sections that are either similar to each other, A and A', or that contrast each other, A and B. In a rounded binary form, the second section is divided into 2 parts. The first is a contrasting B section that ends with a half cadence in the primary or home key. This half cadence is marked with those short parallel slanted lines, and it's called a caesura. The nature of this cadence sets up the return of the A material heard in the beginning. Often, this returning material is altered somewhat, which is reflected by the apostrophe. We call this section A'. A piece in balanced binary features the same ending material at the end of each section. This ending material does not necessarily have to be exactly the same notes. Many times, the material at the end of A is in one key, usually the dominant or relative major, and the ending material of the B section is in the primary key. Note that we use capital letters to designate sections of a movement. We still use lowercase letters for smaller units of music like phrases and periods. Cadential strength also has an effect on the form of a piece. In a continuous binary form, the A section ends with an inconclusive cadence, which is typically a half cadence in the primary key or a cadence in any other key. An inconclusive cadence at the end of the A section implies the need for more music to achieve true closure. A sectional binary piece ends its A section with a conclusive cadence in the original tonic, which gives the A section a sense of independence from the rest of the movement. Different varieties of binary forms can be created when thematic relationships are combined with the cadential formulae. For instance, there are pieces that are in rounded sectional binary form, which are structured quite differently from a simple sectional binary form, for instance. I'd like to elaborate a little bit on rounded binary form for just a moment, especially the end of the B section. Remember that this is a half cadence in the original key, which means it's preparing for the return of the original tonality. So how is that original tonality reintroduced? Well, with the original thematic material from the very beginning. The return of A, or A', is necessary in order to relieve the tension created by the half cadence at the end of the B section. The return of the original thematic material in the original key, quote-unquote, rounds out the form. In essence, it finishes the open-ended musical thought. Therefore, in rounded binary form, B is not independent of A'. So it may look like 2 sections, but it's only one. This is why it is considered a 2-part form, not 3. Let's revisit the minuet from the Anna Magdalena notebook. We last saw this piece in the video on modulation, so we know that it modulates from D minor to F major, then back to D minor. Now let's see how the tonal motion is related to the form of the piece. This is an example of simple continuous binary, and here's why. First of all, it's a binary piece because there are two sections. Repeat signs are a reliable indicator of the end of the A section. It is a simple binary because the opening thematic material does not return. Additionally, the second section contrasts the first, so we label it B. Remember that the piece modulates to F major in measure 5, or in the middle of the A section, and then back again to D minor in measure 12, around the middle of the B section. So this is a continuous binary form because the A section does not cadence conclusively in the original key. Here now is William Porter playing the minuet. The Poor Orphan from Robert Schumann's Album for the Young is an example of rounded sectional binary form. Without repeats, the structure is a bit more obfuscated than that of the minuet, but a closer examination reveals that there are two sections that contrast each other. Measures 1 through 8 comprise the A section, and the following four measures are the B section, because they present different thematic material. It is rounded because the A material returns, in this case exactly as originally presented. This return resolves the tension created by the half cadence at the end of the B section in measure 12. Finally, it is a sectional binary form because of the perfect authentic cadence in the home key of A minor in measure 8. The final 12 measures are simply a repeat of B and A. Here now is Jorg Demus's rendition of The Poor Orphan. Binary forms are quite common. Here is a handful of examples of two-part forms of varying length and complexity. Let's move on now to simple ternary form. As previously mentioned, ternary forms are three-part designs. The distinguishing feature of ternary form is the harmonic closure at the end of each section. That is, both A sections will usually end with a conclusive cadence in the primary key, and the B section will cadence in a contrasting key. Also, the B section usually contrasts the A section in some significant and salient ways. On the surface, then, simple ternary form and rounded binary form seem structurally similar. However, there are some important distinctions between the two. First and foremost is the end of their respective B sections. In ternary form, the B section is harmonically closed and therefore harmonically independent of the surrounding A sections. This is not the case in rounded binary form. Here, the B section is harmonically open as a result of a half cadence in the primary key. In ternary form, the end of the A section is usually harmonically closed as well, with an authentic cadence in the original tonic. The A section in rounded binary can be harmonically open or harmonically closed, although a harmonically open A section is quite common. Finally, the return of the respective A sections occurs differently. In ternary form, it is usually a repeat of the original A section. In rounded binary, it is not uncommon for the A section to be altered somewhat. Robert Schumann's Wild Rider, from his Album for the Young, is an example of simple ternary form. The A section is harmonically closed, ending with a perfect authentic cadence in the primary key of A minor. The B section features a reversed texture in a contrasting key, F major. A returns unchanged except for a lack of a repeat. As the example is playing, observe how the cadences contribute to the sense of independence of each section. Handel, Chopin, and Mendelssohn also wrote simple ternary forms. Finally, we come to composite ternary form, which is similar to simple ternary in that it maintains an overall three-part structure. However, it is different from simple ternary form in that each section is itself a binary form. For example, the overall A sections could themselves be in rounded binary form, and the B section could be a simple binary form, for example. If this looks considerably more intricate than simple ternary, you're onto something. Movements and pieces in composite ternary form are usually longer and more complex than those of simple ternary organization. Let's take, for an example, the second movement of Mozart's Serenade in C minor for 8 winds, Koschel 388. The minuetto serves as the movement's overall A section, while the trio is the overall B section. Each of these sections is itself a rounded binary form, as the blocks of color illustrate. The minuetto is repeated after the trio, but usually without repeats. As the excerpt is playing, pay close attention to how the modulations are prepared and then subsequently affected. Composite ternary forms were a favorite of Baroque and classical composers, especially as parts of suites and multi-movement works like sonatas and chamber pieces. In summary, then, form is the overall organization of a piece of music, and it is dictated by large-scale tonal motion. Binary form is a two-part design that can be continuous or sectional, and simple, rounded, or balanced. Ternary form is a three-part design in which each section is harmonically independent from the others, and the B section contrasts the A. Composite ternary features binary forms nested within an overall three-part organization. For more information, please consult Chapter 23 of The Musician's Guide to Theory and Analysis by Jane Piper Clendenning and Elizabeth West Marvin. Thanks for watching.